Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the October 7th, 2019 Common Council meeting. Ask for a call to order, and then we'll stand for the invocation. Is Bobby here? Well, then, Ron, if you would, please.
Gracious God, Lord, we thank you for another day. We thank you for your blessings, your grace, and your mercy upon our city, upon the leaders of our city, and upon all the employees. Lord, we ask that you bless our police and our fire. We ask that you bless the mayor and all of the people that work for him, and bless all the department heads. And we ask for a special blessing this evening upon the city council persons that's here. Give us wisdom, give us strength, guide us in the name of Jesus Christ, who is our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ron. Have a roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Paris.
Here.
Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Council Vice President Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect that 8 councilpersons are present.
Okay, thank you. We need approval of the minutes for our budget workshop that was conducted on September 16th, 2019.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Then we have the minutes for our regular proceeding September 16th, 2019. And I wanted to make a clarification on page 3, where it was actually on number 1 under new business, where it says Council Vice President Gill opened the public hearing, but no, it was on number 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On number 3, it was where it says Council Vice President Gill said that this is not how it has been done in the past while she's been on the council. That was in reference to someone not from the negative bringing it back up. So I don't want any confusion on that. So can you read did you fix the minutes? Can you read what's in there just so
Yeah, I
they
will.
know?
Council Vice President Gill said, "This is not how it has been done in the past while she's been on the council. It has always had to be a member who was in the negative to bring up the motion to reconsider."
So we need to make a motion to amend the minutes, or just approve it with that amendment?
Huh?
That signature has to be to
Okay.
Motion to accept the amendment.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Motion approved as amended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from September 16th as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Claims to be approved. And we've got 2 sets of civil, 2 sets of parks, so we have to approve each one individually.
Yeah, we had slight issues with our journalizations, and it'd be easier just to have it on 2 different dockets. So, Civil City I have the first one for $2,169,532.09.
Okay, the bulk of that is for the health insurance, which was $1,018,608.73. And then I've been keeping our eye on the fuel. We have $157,548.01 on the fuel, but that was from August. There were several invoices together, so it wasn't just the big one. And then the other big one was for $532,085.96 for New Chapel Park. So were all the claims in order?
Yes,
And just send me an email if you find that claim for the excess
I will.
debts.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a question.
Okay.
Page 3, under City Council, the property casualty insurance, looks like we repaired a Hamburg pipe guardrail. Will that be reimbursed? 18,000. I assume it was a wreck or something.
It was, no, it will not be reimbursed. No. I talked to Andy about it. There was several spots, and there was another one someplace else. I can't think where it was, and I said I can't do both. And evidently he had talked with the mayor before mayor left, and that's how it came up.
I'm just curious, if me as a public citizen wrecks into something, should my insurance fix it?
I think it was a hit and run or something. I don't think there was
Okay.
a report or anything
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Very good. Okay. And,
Takes a lot to take out one of them guardrails.
yeah, they wouldn't be running very far.
I wouldn't think so.
This happened quite a while ago.
It has been quite a while ago.
And I guess my next question is, should that come out of insurance, or shouldn't it come out of the street department?
Drainage was the one, or the engineering department was the one that did it, repaired it. It came out of them. It had nothing to do with the street department. I can't remember all the exact details to it, but it had something to do that there was no insurance. It was below our deductible, for one thing. And I didn't get a police report. All I got was the invoice.
Sure.
I know that doesn't make much sense, but
It just seems odd that it would come out of insurance if, I don't know, I question you,
yeah, I know.
Ms. Thomas. It just seems like it's odd that it's a repair and it would come out of insurance and not out of something related to the street or, maintenance, but it's fine. I had those questions, so I thought I'd ask.
Is there any more questions?
No, ma'am.
I can send you a copy of the invoice tomorrow.
Motion to approve as presented.
You want a copy of the invoice?
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Never mind.
Do you have a question?
No, go ahead.
I need a second. You want a second?
Second.
Okay. I got a motion and a second to approve the civil city claims of $2,169,532.09. Any other further discussion, question, or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Now we move to the civil city of the $9,434.23.
Yes.
All claims in order.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the civil city claims of $9,434.23. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Parks.
I have one change on page 2 of the docket with $315,000. The very top one, the mileage was calculated for 2019. It should have been calculated at the 2018 rate.
Well, it had 2 years on there. You had the 19s
Yeah.
right, you just didn't have 18s
We
right.
fixed those, yeah. So that's $1.89 deduct, which brings the total to $315,475.18.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to repeat that again,
Yeah.
so I signed it.
315,475
So what's it supposed to be on the dock?
$6.98.
It was a reimbursement for mileage.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, and then the rest of the claims were in order,
Yes.
everything else, okay.
Mhm.
To approve the parks claim for the $315,475.18. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we got the $16,939.38 parks.
Yes,
All claims in order?
yes.
Okay. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve parks claim of $16,939.38. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Heather.
I did have one question, Heather. The last page, or 3 of 4, under edit.
On Civil City or under
No,
Parks?
the one we just approved, the parks.
The last-
$16,900.
Yep.
What page?
Page 3. It's the very last claim. It looks like it's utility expenses paid out of edit.
That's correct. It
Yeah,
was.
that was a transfer that you all made for the Envision Center,
For individual.
and then it's budgeted correctly next year. Not to be an edit,
Thank you.
if that was
Well,
your
we have the
thought.
veteran and the sewer being paid out edit. Okay. Report of the clerk. Okay. Then, moving on to unfinished business, we have Nathan Samuel, 2019 OR 51, ordinance establishing a non-reverting fund for the purpose of funding aid to nonprofit organizations for addressing needs and services for Jeffersonville homeless assistance. We only passed it on the first reading. Did you make the changes?
I made the changes for the comments from the last meeting, put back in number 12 there. And the changes were put in here from the last meeting. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve 2019 OR 51 on the second and third.
Second.
Okay, got a motion, a second, pass 2019 OR 51 on the second and third reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Heather, this passed on the first and the second. It was 2019 OR 52, an ordinance transferring certain funds from the same department. Any changes?
No.
Then I'll entertain a third and final.
So moved.
Got a motion, a second, to pass 2019 OR 52 and third and final. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Heather, we're up with you again. We have the 2019 OR 53, the appropriation tax rate for 2020. We passed it on the first and the second. Is there anything you need to add or change, or is there any
No.
questions?
It's all the same from the changes that you made from the public hearing.
Do I have to have another public hearing tonight then?
No, you just have one public hearing and then you
Well, I
have
knew
an
that,
adoption.
but it says public hearing, so I didn't know if something changed, that's why.
No.
Okay.
Motion
No
to
problem.
approve 2019 OR 53 on the third and final.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 53 and third and final. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'm going to pass this around. You also need to check A or nay, however you vote.
Yes, please. That's very important. Thank you.
Okay. Now we will move on to new business. I think Mr. Merkley will be presenting this as a resolution approving the statement of benefits for the real property tax abatement for POSCO, and I gave you before the meeting a handout that goes along with that. It looks like this.
You have two abatements on the agenda tonight. The first one is reference to POSCO. You have before you a resolution approving the request for the abatement. Also, this comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Redevelopment Commission. I believe we do have representatives from POSCO, and also I believe someone from 1SI who can explain in more detail as to the request that is being made as to regarding the abatement. Also, Rob Ways, Redevelopment Economic Development Director, is here as well.
Good evening. My name is Ann Keller. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development at One Southern Indiana. I'm here tonight on behalf of two companies in our community. The first this evening is POSCO AAPC LLC to respectfully request your consideration of their tax abatement request. As you may recall, POSCO, a South Korean steel manufacturer, opened its new facility at the port here in Jeffersonville almost exactly 2 years ago this fall. POSCO is the 5th largest steel producer in the world, and it is one of South Korea's largest companies with its origins in the late 1960s. POSCO also is one of a small number of South Korean companies to establish operations here in the Hoosier State. The facility here in our community of Jeffersonville specializes in processing wire rod for use in the manufacture of nuts, bolts, and shafts in the automotive industry. At this time, POSCO has proposed investing $5.3 million in additional real property to expand their current facility at the port. The company currently employs 23 full-time workers locally, and with this proposed project, the company plans to hire 13 additional employees at a wage rate that ranges between approximately $29 and $34 per hour. Company executives have completed the city's questionnaire, and they scored high enough to qualify for their tax abatement request. In addition, this evening I am joined by Mr. Jason Suh, Bradley Shoemate, and Mr. Woon Hyun Yao, and they are here on behalf of their company and are available to answer any questions you may have, and they also have the handout which you received a few minutes ago. Thank you for your consideration of this particular request.
Any council have any questions? I know I looked over everything. Everything's in order. There's no questions. Can I have a resolution number?
14.
Motion approved. Second. 19R14.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2019 R14. Any further discussion, questions, or comments?
Did they purchase additional property for this?
Did you purchase additional property? No.
No.
You already owned it?
They lease it from the port.
They leased it?
They lease it from the port.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Lincoln.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Lisa, there's 2 spots for you to sign. There's the
Okay. And then, Ann, we're going to move on to the Amatrol. We have the,
Thank you.
It'll be 2019 R15, the resolution approving a statement of benefits for real and personal property tax abatement for Amatrol.
Thank you, Lisa. As you know, Amatrol is a family-owned company that has been here in our community for a number of years with its current base of operations at the North Port Business Center on the east side of our community. Amatrol produces hands-on training equipment and software which is used to train technicians, engineers, and operators in a range of industries. At this time, Amatrol has proposed investing $2 million in additional real property and $550,000 in personal property to expand the current facility. The company currently employs 198 full-time workers locally, and with this project, the company plans to hire 35 additional employees at a wage rate that ranges between approximately $23 and $26 per hour. Company executives have completed your questionnaire, and again, they scored high enough to qualify for their tax abatement request. In addition, Mr. Paul Perkins is here on behalf of the company this evening, and he has some additional comments he would like to share with you, and he's also available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ann. Members of the City Council, thank you so much for considering this resolution. 5 years ago, when we did our last expansion, it was so crucial that we had your support because we were expanding into international markets, and those are places where your cost of operation is just very critical, and you have to be cost competitive. And I can tell you that it all turned out to be a great success. In the 5 years since we did that expansion, we've grown 75%. We projected we would hire 30 people. We ended up hiring 49. We projected we would hire or spend $3.5 million. We spent $3.9 million, and that's really why we're here today. Is that we've continued that path, and now we have needs to do another expansion. We've got some major new product lines that we've created in the area of factory automation and also HVAC, and we're continuing to do more work in the international area, and we're actually getting the opportunity to work on entire schools, not just individual pieces of equipment or laboratories. And all those things take more space, they take more people, and that's, again, why we're here today. So appreciate your consideration, and pleased to answer any questions you might have.
I still remember that tour. I was fascinated.
Thank you.
No issues with job retention, since you had even more. So I was talking with Jerry Acey, that's why I bring it up, and he said there's so many up there in River Ridge that with job retention has been an issue. So I'm happy to see you haven't had that issue.
Well, it's a challenge. Turnover is definitely an issue, I think, with just about everybody today, and we're taking, but even with the turnover, we're still gaining people, and sometimes that turns out to be a good thing. It allows you an opportunity to fine-tune the folks that you have on staff, and some people are getting better opportunities in other companies, and we don't see that as it really is an issue. I think it's a good thing to have a very fluid labor force, and when people can go to the best jobs, that's a great thing. We're just glad to be a part of that infrastructure.
Well, congratulations on your expansion.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, if someone was interested in being hired at your company, and also with POSCO, I'd like to ask that. If someone was interested in being hired at your companies, how would they go about that?
We have online a portal to be able to file an application, and actually, if you just want to show up at the receptionist's desk, she would be glad to fill out an application form.
Same as POSCO. So we also do have like a portal they can access to it. They can simply just search for POSCO ABC Indiana, Jeffersonville, Fort Indiana. They also make a call to us, and our HR person would pick up right away, and they can start communicating each other and contact each other and send an email to exchange resumes and stuff. It's a very easy step.
And is that phone number on your website?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just make a comment that I went to Amatrol a number of years back when we did the tour, and I was impressed then, but then in less than a year ago I went again. I contacted Mr. Perkins and his wife. I think your wife, Kimberly's in the audience. Welcome. And they've added and so much even since the first tour, and I just encourage those to try it again, to go, because they throw out the red carpet for you. And I'm assuming, POSCO, if we try to connect with you guys, maybe we could see what you do, take a tour or something of your facility.
Yes, anytime. Please give us a call and we'll prepare for you.
Thank you.
And we can help, 17 Indiana can help connect you to them.
I'll make a motion to approve 2015 19 R15, not OR, R15.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion, a second, to pass 2019 R15.
Can you have one more comment? Mr. Perkins, I was introduced to Amatrol back in the early 2000s when I worked for the Department of Commerce.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see that you have consistently provided great business here in Southern Indiana and expanded it. Very proud of the work that you do in the presence. And I'm asking this of all people who come and ask for tax abatements. Did you purchase additional property for this development?
We did not. We actually bought a 12-acre piece of property 15 years ago with the idea that we would be able to continue to expand with that.
Okay. And you bought that from where did you say you're located?
We're at Northport, so the Kreiders.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you this evening.
Okay, where are we at? Now we are moving on to, I think, Mr. Merkley, are you presenting the rezoning request?
Yes.
We have an ordinance changing the zoning map of a certain tract of property located at 4315 Utica-Sellersburg Road and fully described and attached Exhibit A, going from a C1 to a C2.
This is property on Utica-Sellersburg Road, and in fact, the business that is the subject of this rezoning is actually on Utica-Sellersburg Road, further toward the intersection of 62 and Utica-Sellersburg Road. They're moving further away from that intersection, closer to the intersection of Utica-Sellersburg Road and Charlestown Pike. And their applicant is Corey Ritchie. I don't know if Mr. Ritchie is here. He is not. This came to you with a favorable recommendation. Planning and Zoning has been dealing with Mr. Ritchie in that business for quite some time, trying to help him along so he complies with all the requirements of our zoning code. He is, again, relocated and expanding the business at his new location. Again, this is a public hearing and is a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. I don't believe anyone appeared to object.
Is there any questions from the council before I open up the public hearing? Okay. So at this time, I'm going to officially open up the public hearing for the property located at 4315 Utica-Sellersburg Road. The zoning request is to go from a C1 to a C2. Is there anyone that wishes to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'm officially closing, and if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
What's the nature of the business there? Is it
I think it's
body shop? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And that property went from, I think, a residential zoning to a C1 zoning a number of years ago. We're just kind of growing on that
Yes.
platform.
Yeah. And he also need a development plan. And I think this is the last step so he can do what he intends to do with the property.
And I've seen where the pole barn is. I pass by there frequently, and I'm familiar with the Ritchies. It's moved to a better spot. It gets it away from where we've developed the new, Water Tower Road, and it's a much nicer building. This is a much better fit. It works. So I'd like to, are we done? You ready for a motion?
Yep.
Number 54.
Motion to approve 2019 OR 54.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, to pass 2019 OR 54. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Merkley, we have an ordinance changing the zoning map of a certain tract of property located at 611 Hopkins Lane, going from an R1 to an R2.
Yes, the applicant is Murphy Homes, Chase Murphy. This property is currently zoned R1, but the R2 will allow, I think right now it's zoned for one residential building on the property. When it goes to R2, you can have more than one. Is Mr. Murphy or someone here representing? Mr. Murphy is here. If you want to come forward and
Yeah, I got a question for you. This is in my district, and there was this kind of, I only got one email, and I think full council got that. Somebody originally was against it at the zoning, but then talked to you and is for it that lives in the area.
Correct.
How many houses are you proposing to build?
13.
You're looking to build the 13, because I think she wanted me to ask, like 12, that it may not be 13 because of the size of the lot or something, so you are going to
There's a question on the detention basin, which we're set up for 13 right now. Drainage board will probably have something to say about that, depending on if we need a retention or detention basin on our property, which we probably will. So,
like I said, I'm the councilperson for that district, and nobody's called me, and I usually will hear if there's any objections.
well, there were some objections that,
There were quite a few people, but they thought it was
Apartments.
expansion of the housing authority.
Gotcha.
And it's like, no,
Yeah.
these are single-family homes.
There was some concern about the drainage too, that Mr. Merkley said that they were already started on the plan.
Yes. Yes. It's not, they, either half or getting ready to go for $800,000 contract to address the drainage in that area.
Yeah, that Erica that called, I called her today. I explained to her that goes out to, I think we're accepting the bids at the end of this month for that. So. Is there any further questions before I open it up for a public hearing?
I'd just comment that Mr. Howard has, I'm sorry, Mr. Murphy has a, on the next thing. Mr. Murphy has a reputation of being, pretty straightforward and forthcoming with all of his business practices. I think would do well for that neighborhood for him to go in and kind of fill that area out with some single family.
thank you.
Appreciate your interest in Jeff.
Well, I didn't get to say this at the planning and zoning meeting, so I'll say it, but there was a time about 10, 11 years ago when I was really young, and I came before planning and zoning. It took about 2 years to get my project passed, and I think at the time I might have been the only one on the docket at multiple meetings. So it's exciting to see that there's a lot of things happening in Jeff, because when there's a full docket, that means that we're growing. It's exciting, and so I'm excited to do business in Jeff. So.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to officially open up public hearing. Is there anybody here that wish to speak for or against the rezone going from an R1 to an R2 for the property at 611 Hopkins Lane? Seeing none, I'll officially close public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve 2019 OR 55. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim, what?
That was 55.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we got the ordinance amending the 2018 OR 65, the ordinance fixing the salaries of appointed officers and employees for all departments of the city of Jeff, Clark County, Indiana for the year 2019. Is it for 18 or is it for 19? Okay,
It's for 19.
All right. You have
But amending the 18 ordinance, which was actually for 19. It was done in 2018, yeah. So I'm here to request that the council approve 92. We'll be adding 3 new firefighters, and we'd like to make that request for this year, for year 2019, to start them hopefully in November.
There aren't any other changes.
Pardon me?
That's the only
Not on
change.
this one. The next
Right.
one is for the 2020 ordinance.
And it's OR 56.
But on this one, yes, there are no changes. That's it. But for some reason, I accidentally highlighted.
And this is so the mayor commission has the authority to go ahead and do the hiring.
Pardon me?
This is so the mayor commission can go ahead and do the
Correct,
hiring.
correct.
Well, is this something that we need one?
It would be nice if you could suspend the typical motion and get it on 3, so we could get our 3 officers in here off the list and hired and processed. As you know, November, December is a pretty crazy time for HR and open enrollment, which we haven't even initiated yet. So it would do us a favor, and I'm sure the fire department a favor, if we could go ahead and get this approved and get all 3 of them on board.
if anybody knows exactly, there's some issue as well about the way the retirement work. I don't even know who to ask for this question. But if they do it faster, it ends up working better. Okay, tell me what I'm talking about.
Derek, come on up.
What it is in order for a firefighter to be hired in the state of Indiana, they have to be accepted into the pension. So the pension is what really takes some time. Sometimes, depending on how Indianapolis is, it could take 4 to 6 weeks to just get them enrolled in the pension. Now, they actually don't go on the payroll until they get accepted in the pension, and that's when they get the official offer of employment. What we're doing now is, in order to get them in that process, the Merit Board cannot make an offer of contingent, I think, employment without there being an opening. So currently, there's not an opening per the salary ordinance. So we changed the salary ordinance to 92, 3 openings, and then the merit attorney, Zach, will start contacting the eligible candidates on the list.
And then those eligible candidates have to go to Indianapolis for testing, which, as Eric said, can take anywhere from 3 to 6. The average is more like 5 or 6.
So it's a psychological test, a medical test, interviews and things like that up in Indianapolis.
And one more thing, it also, if you all pass it tonight, then the Merit Commission has to meet. We have to have a special meeting anyway, whether it was tonight or this week or the next one, it's a special meeting that they have to do a resolution to start that too. So the sooner it's done, the sooner the Merit Commission can meet, and the sooner they can get it.
And you have to order equipment for them, right?
Right. The ordering of the equipment and the gear, we don't want to do that until we know they pass the Indianapolis test, because the gear is expensive and they get fitted for that. So we don't want to bring them in tomorrow and measure them and then them not pass the perf process.
So since Larry, it sounds like it behooves us to pass this all once, do I have to make a motion to suspend the rule?
Yes.
That has to be unanimous.
It has to be unanimous, and that's the best way to go forward. Mr. Stewart shared with me that given an opportunity to speak, because he didn't know if you all were talking to me since I come back, that on behalf of the Merit Board as their counsel, we appreciate if you all would do that as well, because they've put it in place to where it can move forward really quickly.
I was actually
I'll
going to say
second
all
Mr.
that.
Hawkins' motion.
Yeah, I'll make
So
a
I
motion
got
to
a
suspend.
motion and a second to suspend the rules in anticipation of passing the 2019 OR 55 in all 3 readings. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
OR
carries.
56.
56.
Mhm. Oh, sorry,
And then I'd
56.
like to make a motion to pass 2019 OR 56 on all 3.
And I'll second that one also.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 56 in all 3 readings. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, City Council.
Thank you for your explanation.
Kim, now
Thank
we're
you.
moving on to the ordinance.
Moving on.
Yeah, I'm on a roll, buddy.
Okay.
Take me
Yes,
while I'm
you
hot.
are. There we go.
An
Okay.
ordinance fixing the salaries of appointed officers, employees for all the departments for the year 2020.
Okay. On page 1, you notice that we changed everything from 2019 to 2020, and everything should be highlighted. On page 2, base pay for fire will be $54,647.61. Total positions will be 92. You see I crossed out 89, but then tonight that'll be 92. So page 3, base for captain will go from 21.5 to 22%. From lieutenant, it will go from 16.5 to 17. Sergeant, 11.5 to 12%.
And those are all contractually
Correct.
agreements.
Yes. Under human resources, there's going to be an HR generalist 1, employment, HRIS, and general support. Pay grade 6, 80% on general fund, 20% from wastewater. Under IT, we made a change that currently it's been funded at 52%. Out of the general fund, it's going to be funded at 80%. Technology specialist was typically, traditionally been 100% out of the general fund, and now it's going to be 80%. So that's it for page 3. Page 4, under Parks and Recreation, we currently have 10 general labor staff. We're going to go to 12. And then the Parks Director has broken that down into 7 general labor for parks and 5 for green space. Under the Parks Department as well, we've created a new position for Envision Center. It's a part-time staff. It's a monitor, kind of like we have at Kennels and like we had at Fieldhouse. So what we've done is Christine and I have met with Paul and Amber over the course of probably the last 3 months trying to get those cleaned up so they all have their own unique job descriptions regardless of where they're monitoring. The monitor for the Fieldhouse is not the same as it is at the Envision Center or the Ken Ellis. So, and then the supervisor for Fieldhouse and League Activity has been changed to supervisor of Envision Center and League Activity. Police Department base pay has been changed to $54,647.61. They'll be adding 2 new positions. There'll be a total position going from 91 to 93. Their rank pay for major goes from 26.5 to 27%. Captain will be going from 21.5 to 22. Lieutenant, 16.5 to 17. Sergeant, 11.5 to 12. Corporal, 6.5 to 7. Senior patrolman, 10 plus years is 3.5 to 4%, and that is also contractually. Under vehicle maintenance, a little bit of an error. I crossed out administrative assistant, but we kind of tweaked that job description like 2 weeks ago before we'd already had this completed. But it's going to actually be an inventory control clerk and administrative assistant. It's going to be a little bit of both. And my fear was that if we advertise that as an administrative assistant position, originally as we had looked at it, that we wouldn't get anybody applying that was really what we're looking for, somebody who does inventory control. Because you think about admin, you think more secretarial or administrative work. And this is going to have more of a focus on inventory control for all the parts.
Oh, okay.
Like all their car parts,
when he was saying about
managing the oil, the gasoline, the antifreeze, all the parts storage, ordering parts.
So the new position won't be, because basically you have 2 people now helping out with claims, so this person will not do claims.
No, they will, but there's going to be more of a focus on inventory.
Okay.
And my fear was that if we advertise it as an administrative support person, we might not be getting the applicants that we're looking for if we advertise it as an inventory control. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then we've removed one of the auto body repair, that position, and you'll see in a minute, we reduced that and merged that with the person who's doing that. Really, there's not enough to keep him busy 100% of the time. So he's going to be doing dual roles. He's going to still be working as an auto body repair in addition to being a mechanic. And then that allowed for some money to fund the inventory control person. So you'll see that at the top of page 6, which is why the diesel mechanic then went to 5 instead of 6. You with me? We good?
Yep.
Okay. Under wastewater, the administrative assistant is 1. The person who's been in that job has been seasonal on the old ordinance, and because she's been here for over a year, wastewater went ahead and made her part-time, made that a part-time position because she's really kind of worked beyond what we consider the seasonal period.
So that's not a new position?
It's not a new position. It's just a matter of being compliant with what's not really a seasonal employee versus what's a part-time employee.
Yeah, Lynn did bring that up in the school board meeting too.
So. Also under wastewater, under the Director of IT, it's going to go from 48% funding to 20% funding. The HR generalist position, they're going to fund at 20%, and the technology specialist at 20%. There were no changes on page 7. On page 8, it was brought to my attention by Ann Langley that we had eliminated somehow, we had deleted the police department, but apparently fire and police admin staff receive $1,600 annually for uniforms. So I added that back in.
That's budget.
Pardon me?
Is it in the
Yes.
That reads as non-union employees.
It's the admin staff. They aren't bound by union. It's the,
So it is like firefighters and police officers, not.
no, it's the administrative staff.
I think Mr. Maples is asking about whether or not there's an existence of any union here. It kind of implies that there's something besides the FOP. Department, and I agree. It's kind of an odd word.
It's been, not to be one of those people that says it's always been that way, but just using the language that has traditionally been in this section, but it's the non-union
So to be correct, since we're
administrative staff.
Well, correct, that they are non-merits employees.
Non-collective bargaining.
Well, I guess I'm asking, is this actual police officers and firefighters versus personnel staff that aren't police officers and firefighters?
They are not police officers. They are not.
Or firefighters?
Or firefighters, no.
And we reimburse, and they wear a uniform? I think it's not.
I don't think so.
They wear, it's not the same uniforms. They call it
Khaki
work.
pants.
Yeah, like a work uniform, like school uniform. But if we reimburse each employee up to $1,600 annually for that?
I will say this, it's not a part of the collective bargaining contracts either with the police or the fire, so I'm assuming that's just a request that they traditionally in their budget.
Eric?
Budget, direct budget.
Do you know? You're the only, somebody, or Josh left.
The employee that I have that falls in that would be Sissy Ellis at the front, and she does have a uniform that she wears that's very similar to ours.
She wears the blue pants and all.
When she's at the front desk, and I believe that some of the police officer staff at the front wear uniforms on occasion. I'm not sure.
I know they have a dress code that they have to,
But $1,600 annually, I mean,
When a firefighter gets $800?
Yeah.
I'm just speaking what it reads like, I guess.
You can reduce it, we can reduce that. I mean, we're approving a salary ordinance.
This is your decision. I'm here to.
why would it?
Do you want to reduce
I mean,
it?
it makes sense though. Why would a fireman that's represented by the union take half of, and I don't know what uniform is required that would be $1,600 annually.
I can maybe elaborate on that a little bit. The firefighter works 10 days a month, and the uniforms that the firefighters are getting for that $800 is not their gear. It's their T-shirts, shorts, pants, whereas the admin person does work 5 days a week. Perhaps that could be a difference in regards to the fire department.
And we didn't up that in the contract because remember we didn't want if they were war in a fire or all that because
We did.
That is increased up from 6 maybe.
Oh, okay.
From 4 to 8.
400.
Okay, as long as we're reflecting it right, because I knew we didn't want them to wear those shirts that they were in.
So you have one at the fire department. Major Lead, that is, I won't put you on the spot, you probably, I don't know. Do you know how many people call them?
4.
4?
Wow.
We can change it.
Count the person in the back, 5, yeah.
Well, we've already budgeted this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So then we have to change the budget.
And it is a reimbursement.
well,
Is that correct?
it's easier to do a budget reduction than it is to do
No, it's not.
additional.
Required to show receipts.
Okay. So it's just a stipend, which is not what the ordinance reads, but it's,
reimbursement.
yeah.
Mr. Maples, one other thing I wanted to add, I'm sorry to interrupt, is there are other firefighters that are not covered in the CBA, which would include myself and Deputy Chief Grant and DR. So there's other folks that are not covered in the CBA that are firefighters or police officers, just to clarify.
Okay, that's
any
what I was-
ambiguity. I don't want to mislead you guys. When you said, are they police and firefighters, there are police and firefighters that are not covered in the CBA.
That's what, okay. I think
I would just make a comment that,
I think it should definitely be a reimbursement.
the police chief is not here, and
I would like to see-
he's evidently been supportive of this, and I'd hate to go in and take away from something that he gives his employees, something without input from him.
I'd like to see receipts though, but that's me. Don't know.
But they should do receipts, it says reimbursement, so they should just
No,
enforce that.
It's done through payroll, it's a special pay.
But I mean, does this ordinance reflect what's been done in the past?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
It just wasn't in the ordinance.
How many budgets were done?
No, I put it in the ordinance,
Right.
I don't
So
know,
Heather,
whenever I
if it's for
started doing the ordinance.
reimbursements, you do need receipts for reimbursements.
Okay.
So,
We'll change that.
Thank you.
Yeah, because if it's a reimbursement,
I'm surprised with, well,
Yeah,
Okay.
and I agree, I don't support changing it right now, just.
It was highlighted, so.
Highlighted, and it's non-union administrative staff, I think I just cleared up the water, so sorry.
we can move on.
okay. Page 9, at the bottom, talking about cell phones. I just changed it to say city issued. We really don't have a citywide cell phone plan. At one time, we kind of did, and that's pretty much disappeared. So I just thought it made more sense to kind of change that to reflect that change. On page 10, we added under the seasonal positions, we added Envision Center and Camp Counselor, since those are two new positions. And we have created job descriptions for those, and,
Can I ask Paul something real quick?
Mhm.
Sure. Paul,
no.
yes, I am.
No, you can't.
I was being polite, but I am. Paul, I need you to explain to me a camp counselor, because when I think of a counselor, it might be that something different than what you are, a camp counselor. I mean.
You saw the job description, I can send that to you, then you would be able to kind of see that.
Yes, please send that to me, but I'd still like for him to answer, please.
Sure. They're overseeing the camps that we put on this summer. It's a 9-week program. They're actively getting involved with kids in the games and the activities. Thank you. But yes, thank you. Field trips, swimming trips to the aquatic center. But I don't feel like they're like a counselor that has to be accredited as a counselor. They're just kids, or they're individuals who will oversee the activities that are going on in the building, whether they're swimming or field trips or lessons or what have you.
And we did struggle with what to call it, but really when we looked at all the other municipalities and what they called it, counselor just seemed to be the only one to really
That's a normal thing.
kind of land on.
Part of this came from recommendation from the law department.
Mhm.
I was uncomfortable with how things were being structured based on what has happened here locally with certain establishments in the city. I think we needed to have an actual job description for these people as opposed to what we were doing before, which we were just using people who were filling out monitors to oversee these children. And my feeling is that as a parent,
Thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying.
so there are like things in there about, making sure that, specifics about releasing children and protocols with that, and
Okay.
so but I will,
Thank you,
and
Paul.
just so you know, like we spend way too much time together going over all this stuff, wouldn't you say? These aren't things that we draft and redraft and redraft. I think it took us about, 5 times before we finally landed on a job description that we were all comfortable with. And it's myself, Paul, Christine, and Amber, and then the consultant. So
I'm fine with it. I just wanted clarification for the public, as they might be thinking, oh, we're in business, I can't help it. I just wanted that clarification publicly.
While I'm here, can I make a correction? Can we go back to parks? You want to wait till you're done?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Ask Lisa.
Yep, that's fine.
Can we go back? Okay.
Just give us a
The
page.
general labor,
Should I get them backwards?
there they are. Yeah.
Which page?
What's that?
What page is that? Page 4.
Page 4.
General labor, 12 total. It should be 5 parks and 7 green space. The 2 new ones are going in green space.
Oh, so it was just reversed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we're on page...
We're on page
Done-
10.
done with
and
10?
we just finished.
Oh, we're
I
done.
do kind of want to remind you guys, or just kind of throw it out there, that I will probably in 2020, whoever's going to be there, talk about the seasonal pay grades. They have not been changed for 4 years now. And I think as many as you know, we've had a lot of difficulty this past year trying to attract and retain lifeguards, admission workers, concession workers. We've been very lucky with the Envision Center in terms of attracting some kids there. I say kids because they are youth. But when a lot of them can leave and go to Target or someplace like that and make $12, $13 an hour when we're paying $9.25. It's been a struggle, and as you know, working with youth, it takes a special person to do that. And we've got a really good group of kids, and I really want to see what we can do to retain them and keep them. So I'm not going to go away.
No,
So
I
you know.
expect you to. Okay, is there any questions or comments for
That's it.
Kim? If not, I'll entertain a motion. It's ordinance number 57.
Motion approved. That's it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to
On
pass.
first and second reading. First or second reading.
Okay. We got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 57 on the first and second reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Kim, for next meeting, I'll talk to Ed, but I really don't see why unless there's any changes for the third and final, to have you come to the meeting. But I'll check with Ed to
Works
make
for me.
sure.
Okay.
I'll send you an
I
email.
may have some questions.
On that one page,
No, you don't.
Which one?
the one that you just corrected, can you all just correct that one page and send it to me?
Yes. Yeah. You mean the 5 and the 7,
Yeah.
7 and 5? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Heather, thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Heather, we got 2019, it'll be OR 58, an ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department. If you just walk us through it, please.
These are a bunch of end-of-year transfers to try and get the budget in line to what is being requested to purchase.
First transfers is what I like to see.
Transfers, yeah.
Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve on the first and second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 58 in the first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to an ordinance additional appropriation for the fire department.
Yes, this is for the 3 new starting this year.
If you don't have any questions, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve on the first and second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 59 on the first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. And an ordinance addition appropriation for the Parks Department.
The first three are in regards to long-term employment that's retiring. And then the last one is for the River Stage, and that is for 2018 bills that we didn't get until 2019, and having to pay them now. So that kind of took up the budget early on in the year. There's only about $1,000 left in River Stage.
Is that a company you usually deal with that didn't get their bills in on time?
That's correct.
You call them and scold them and say, hey?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so I will entertain a motion if there's no questions.
Motion to approve on the first and second.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 60 on the first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We'll move on to our page 2 of our agenda, and that is the appointment to the Jeffersonville Building Authority. I believe, Joe, you had a name in mind?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to bring John Souter into the building authority. He's a guy I've known for about 20 years. We go to the same church. And he actually is a carpenter and a painter, and he's been doing this for many, many years. And actually, he's semi-retired now, so I reached out to him, and I think he would be a good fit.
Can you spell that last name?
S-O-W-D-E-R. And John, J-O-N.
You think maybe sometime you can have him come in and introduce himself, if there's no objections?
Sure.
Is there any other names?
Yes. Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second to appoint John Souter to the Jeffersonville Building Authority. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Helen, thank you. We are moving on to, do we have attorney comment? Since we haven't seen you in a while, you are not allowed to miss another meeting.
I just want to thank you all for letting me come out. I think it's secure contacted Homeland Security and tried to stop my re-entry into the country because he was so put out by my absence. That was you. But no, and I had nothing.
Thank you, Larry. Do you have any department heads other than the ones we've heard from? Thank you all for being here. And we do not have public comment. They were the ones, it was Ann Keller, and then it was Chase Murphy that was there, so I'll just pass that on down. There's no public comment. So we will move on to council comments, and we will start with what? You need me to sign this? I'll leave it for Ed. Okay. Councilperson White.
Today, we had a representative from HUD come down and recognize the great work of Paul Northam and Darnell Jackson and associate partners, and we're officially recognized as a HUD Envision Center by the Secretary of HUD. And we are the only one recognized in the state of Indiana and only one of 16 nationally. So we felt very special today as a city. I'm very proud to be nationally recognizing that, but national recognition of one of the projects that we did. So it's going to be good for everybody.
Councilperson Parrish.
No comment.
Councilperson Maples. Councilperson Hawkins.
None other than Les. I got to talk to you before you go.
Okay, Les, you got to stick around. Councilperson Owen.
Just one quick thing. Since we last met as a council, there was a news story run on some protesting of a decision that was made at our Jeffersonville Police Department on a recent hire of an experienced officer, a merited officer. I think probably Chief Cavanaugh may have reached out to other council members, but he reached out to me to kind of explain that situation that I was kind of shocked to see on the news. But I told him when he called me that Chief Kavanaugh has, in my opinion, very high integrity. Our police department in Jeffersonville operates with the utmost integrity, and they're just as professional as our firefighters and our fire department. I didn't need to call the chief of police when I saw that on the news because I trust his judgment. I trust our merit process when we go through these hiring processes. The officer that was the subject of scrutiny was not under any investigation nor pending any type of legal proceeding at the time he was hired. He's worked here for several weeks as a detective without complaint. And I think maybe we're just getting in within 30 days of an election, and that might have a little bit to do with the negative press at the expense of the officer, at the expense of the image of the police department, and at the expense of the city. I think it's uncalled for, and I hope that I let the chief know that those were my thoughts when he called me. I appreciated him calling and taking the time, but I told him it wasn't necessary because, as I mentioned, they operate with the utmost integrity, and I have no doubt they will continue to do so. So I just wanted to publicly express my support for Chief Kavanaugh, the Jeffersonville Police Department, and all of our employees here at the City of Jeff.
Thank you. Councilperson Ellis.
Well, you brought up a subject that has, well, I guess I'd say bothered me quite a bit because my telephone has rung continually since the news broke that story. I've had a lot of calls from a lot of people from the African American community who is concerned about this officer. There is a group of pastors from the community that will be doing an investigation. They'll be talking with the mayor, hopefully, and Chief Kavanaugh to make a decision on their own how they're going to proceed in this. Also, the NAACP is involved in this in trying to see whether this officer was hired correctly, why he was hired, and some other things. It's not a decision for me to make because I'm not in the hiring or the firing business. But I am going to be there at the table when the pastors come together and discuss this. At this point, my only opinion is what I've had with the information that I've got from Chief Kavanaugh. I've talked with him at length about the situation, and he told me his side of the story. The pastors want to know all sides of the story. So there will probably be some more. Hopefully it's no more news media, but there will be some other investigations into that situation. And I'd also like to know, you'll probably see, if you come to these meetings often, you'll see me vote a number of times against additional appropriations. My reasons for voting against additional appropriations is hopefully at some point we can set a budget and live within that budget for the whole year. That's the reason that I continually vote against additional appropriations. That's all I have.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yeah, I do have just a comment. In our claims, the first ones we approved tonight, the general, on page 9, under the unsafe building, there are approximately $3,600 worth of cutting grass that the city contracts out to a number of folks. And I've talked to Mr. Merkley a little bit about this in the past, but I'm taking a different slant on it tonight. Since Paul's in here and from Parks and HR's in here, I'm just wondering about the thought if we would hire I believe if you add all these up for the year or for the growing season, it'll more than cover the cost of part-time labor, or maybe a couple of them. And I know that you're always needing, or I think, Paul, I know you're always needing additional hands for the green team, or just additional hands.
Yeah, we're given a dollar amount, not an amount of employees to hire, but a certain dollar amount. This year, I was able to stretch it to 5 part-time employees because I started a little bit later and cut them out a little bit earlier. But, part-time employees are very valuable, especially in the landscaping department and mulching and that sort of thing.
I just want to, I guess, plant a seed that maybe we look, either finance or HR or the administration looks at what we're spending on contracting out, and if it makes sense, and it may not make sense, but if it makes sense to take those dollars and shift them and let Parks use them on the green team for additional labor, and then when they're not mowing, if they're still on the clock, they can do other things, pick up trash if they had to. But I know we're spending a significant amount of dollars, and I look at that that's one of the things I look at every claim. I just find it interesting, and I just put that out there. Just we're contracting this out, and if we hire some people, we may get more bang for our buck. That's just my only comment.
Well, Nathan, to add to that, with reviewing the claims, there's pictures in there and there's addresses, and the majority of those are vacant homes. I don't know, I personally want to see the Parks Department be going on vacant home, for parks. I haven't seen anything like open fields or anything like that, and I do know that a lot of that is to give to Linda, and Heather, you might add to that. We get reimbursed.
Yeah.
We do the claims and the liens.
That dollar amount onto the property, and then we receive that when they pay their taxes.
That's even better. We should reimburse back for tax dollars.
Well, and a lot of them too, is you get a lot of double cuts, the bills, because they'll cut it twice. So, okay. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what was said earlier, and I have not talked to Chief Kavanaugh. I have talked to the President of the Union. I will talk to both Chief and Assistant Chief, but my disappointment comes in the coverage of that hiring of that officer is, I want to know if WDRB, I mean, their coverage of that story seemed a little, I don't know what the right word would be, but the way it was presented and the way that I read it, and then with talking and making my own little inquiries, it's like, okay, here's what we had, and when they were kind of reporting it and moved it way over here, kind of, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. I'm not happy with the way that story was presented. I understand there's all sides to stories, but I did share it on my Facebook page, but the president of the local 100, correct? Anthony Stewart. I had an in-depth conversation with him. He did put out I believe it was a press release. I don't know what it was, I shared it, but I do encourage all council, if you've not gotten a copy or if you've seen that, to take a look at that. It was a great letter, and I appreciate him writing that. So with that, I don't have anything further.
Madam President, I would just like to echo with what Councilman Owens said in speaking with the chief. That is the story. The timelines are, as the chief explained them, so that on a factual level, the things proceeded according to what was listed in the FOP press release. So I think the further that gets around, the further people understand exactly what happened and what didn't happen, then everything will be fine. But just echoing what Councilman Owens said, I've always touted the integrity of our police department. I've always talked about how we should export what we do here to other police departments around the country if we could afford it. So I also stand behind our police department. They continue to do the good job that they do protecting our citizens while doing very difficult work. And also what I forgot to say earlier is, I don't know if, I believe everyone was invited to a League of Women Voters forum that's also in partnership with JNLA. And if we remember, a couple months ago, I brought up that JNLA was being politically active and they received taxpayer dollars. And now it's out in the open being publicized.
I would like for you to send whatever it is that you've seen, because JNLA had a forum that we were supposed to have at our October meeting, and we canceled it because it was the same, we already had candidates confirmed for it.
Deborah Henderson for the president?
Yes.
She
So
sent
I'd
me
like
3 messages. She's called me twice. And I got an email, League of Women Voters in partnership with JNLA are holding that forum. I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If that's the case, I'm not happy with that. So
Motion to adjourn.
moved. Adjourned.